Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. All right, so I'm gonna do a video here. I'm gonna respond to some comments. Sometimes I do this. I did a video about men and women, specifically about should you motivate your girlfriend, or how do I motivate my girlfriend? You can check out that video here. And in that video, some people got butthurt about that. That's normal whenever I talk about masculinity and femininity. A lot of people don't want to accept reality that men and women are different, right? And they just don't like that. They just want to believe that we're all the same. We just have different private parts. Oh man, it's such a stupid notion to think that, because all you gotta do is like walk around in the world and look at history and look at how men and women behave and different, and what makes men and women attracted to each other. Read a fucking romance novel, look at a fucking porno, and you will see that there are big differences, okay? So it's really stupid and shallow to hold on to that viewpoint despite all this overwhelming evidence. But that's what I'm gonna break down into today here. So anyway, I did that video and I was talking about really essentially don't try and motivate your girlfriend. That's stupid, first of all. It's gonna script a relationship. It's just not good, right? I mean, just in general, like, not gonna wanna hear it from you. And second of all, you're missing it. Just because you're a driven, conquer, blast through wall type of masculine male guy doesn't mean that your woman is. You might not want her to be. Not that some women can't be that from time to time, and that there's not a value in being that, and that we can't be a little bit diverse in our, we all have a masculine and feminine aspects to us, right? You might say, again, I think I talked about in that video, but kind of what I'm doing here on YouTube to some degree, right, is really would be more of the feminine side, right? Because I'm not busting through shit on the video, okay? What I'm doing is I'm helping people. I'm hopefully being somewhat empathetic and saying, okay, look, I see your problem. Can I help you? I want to help you with your life. That's probably not on the scale of the masculine. Now, I do a lot of fucking masculine things, but that's not the piece of it. So you got to have a balance, right? And what I'm talking about typically, when you look at a man and you look at a woman and you say that man is masculine or he's feminine, or that woman's she's acting very masculine or feminine, you're looking at their core. What is their general characteristics? What are they generally like? What is the core? What sort of defines them? Where do they emanate from, right? From a masculine presence, a masculine presence, or a feminine presence. And that's the key. It doesn't mean that they're just masculine or just feminine, right? I need you to understand that, because the world is a complex place. It's full of contradictions. It's full of mixes. There's always the yin and the yang. It's not just black and white. It's just not, okay? This is a big problem that people want to simplify. I'm all about simplifying things, right? I'm all about making the complex simple, but you cannot simplify things to such a degree to just group things into your little categories and say, oh, this is black and this is white. It just doesn't work that way in the real world. So I got a couple of comments, and I was a little bit rude, I guess. I don't know. So Lindsay, she commented and she was a little bit upset, right? And she, just to give you some background, she expressed her concern that, she's feminine. She does her hair, does her makeup, cooks for her man, motivates her man, but she's driven and she's a computer science person and she's an engineer and she does this stuff. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. That's great. And so she's a little bit upset by the video, saying, oh, well, you're saying that men are, driven and women are soft and weak, almost, right? And there's a kernel of truth to that, but that's not the message, right? That's why I kind of respond a little bit like that, because I'm like, yeah, you're resisting the truth here. This is a lot of times when people come back like that, it's because they're resisting the truth. They know the truth. They know what I'm saying. If you watch a video 3 times, okay, I could be wrong here, but this is kind of what I'm getting at. But anyway, regardless, if that's the case, I want to address what she was talking about and really be very clear here as to what my stance is and what I'm talking about, and why I think that it is proper in many ways to say that men are strong and women are soft, right? That is the difference between masculine and feminine. It really is that difference. So I'm going to read you the latest comment that she had left on there. Again, not starting a war, I think this is a good experience, a good talking point here. So she says, let me speak up and say I did not tell you what to do, I politely asked. I understand the gender norms and influence on masculine versus feminine. Women aren't the softer sex, we just handle things differently. See, that's not true. Women are the softer sex, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. I want a soft woman. Most men do. They don't want a hard woman, right? When you look at the features, even just the physical features between men and women that are attractive, in men, it's hard, right? It's muscle. It's being built like a fucking tank, right? I mean, to some who chiseled abs, right? You think about the statue David, right? Or, you know, that basically, I don't know. I don't think about the statue David. So, but that's kind of the idea. And when you think about women, right, and what's attractive as a woman, it's not that. It's different. It's a softer, right? I mean, even curvy. Could we say even curvy? Where's that? That's got to be soft, right? That's fat. Women store fat in the proper places, not too much of it, but that's attractive, right? That's the difference. Okay, so she says women aren't the softer sex. We just handle things differently. And again, obviously, I don't think that's the case. It's more than just that. It's physical. It's mental. It's everything here, right? And not a bad thing. Okay. I have listened to each of your podcasts and watched most videos. Your bluntness and brash attitude is refreshing, and I need a safe space society. Awesome, great. You know, I feel a little bit bad, I'll be honest, when I'm becoming a little harsh at the beginning of this video. No offense to you. I appreciate that you appreciate what I'm saying, but you have to understand this as well, right? I'm a fucking fire, okay? I'm gonna burn up what I touch. And so what I mean by that is, I'm not trying to brag, I'm just saying, like, if you appreciate the fact that I'm blunt and have a brash attitude in this I need a safe space society, I'm going to be that with you. It's because I respect you. It's because I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass, right? Now, we could still disagree at the end of this, and I think that you're an intelligent enough person, I'm talking to Lindsay here, and all of you that kind of identify, to realize that that's true, and to realize what I'm doing. So that's where I'm coming from here. Just so you know where I'm coming from. I'm gonna be acting that way. I'm gonna talk that way. I'm going to address it, and I'm gonna say stop being an idiot if I think you're being an idiot. That's it. You just have to understand. Okay, so let's talk about here. So she says here, though you are motivating the next generation of programmers, and the idea that men are driven and women go with the flow is one of the ideas that have caused the amount of women in the tech field to drop. They're being pushed aside due to thinking they are meek and aren't driven. Okay, so this is the core of this. If you've been watching the video to this point, this is why, because of that statement there, that's why I actually decided to do a video, is because I want to really address this. Because is it true that what I'm doing is I'm motivating the next generation of programmers that men are driven and women go with the flow, and it's causing women in the tech field to drop, and that they're being pushed aside, thinking that they're meek and aren't driven. So here's the thing, okay? In the working world, okay, the society of ambition and drive and climbing the corporate ladder and building a business and conquering the world is always going to be in the man's territory, in masculine territory. Now, what does that mean? Am I saying that it's only men that have a place there? No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's a masculine attribute. Just like, okay, here's, for those of you that are still watching and like flip your desk. I know some of you are like, what the fuck, man? But no, but listen, okay? Take nature. Nature in its essence is very feminine, right? Like you think about, I'm thinking like oceans, beaches, Hawaii. I'm thinking, the feminine kind of beauty of nature, right? Beauty is a feminine type of thing. The natural beauty of nature, of seeing a waterfall and the trees and waves, right? That is feminine. Okay. Now, does that mean that men have no place there? No, they enjoy that, right? That's great. It's great to experience that, right? And is it good that if a man can sometimes be soft and identify with nature and meditate and do those things? Yes, it's great, right? If I were just coming at you and all I was doing was bringing masculine energy 100% of the time, you wouldn't like me. You wouldn't like me. You wouldn't tolerate me for a second, right? The same thing, if a woman was just completely emanating feminine energy, and that's it, and there's no kind of drive or masculinity in it at all, it would get pretty damn boring. I'll tell you, it would, right? So we have this mix, like I said at the beginning. So just because a particular domain is more masculine or feminine, right? That's an identification. Like if you understand, if you've ever studied foreign languages, right? Like I was studying some Italian because I'm planning on making a trip to Italy. So let's see you guys, see those of you when I get there. But there's, in a lot of Latin-based languages, right? Romance languages, there's a feminine and a masculine, right? I mean, this kind of just even goes to what I'm saying, right? There's feminine words and there's masculine words, okay? Now, does that mean that because fruta is a feminine word, that men can't eat fruit, that it's wussy to eat fruit? No, it doesn't. It's just, that's the identification, right? So there's a gender identification, even to words, to all the words in many languages, right? So just recognize that the workforce, the workplace, is always going to be a masculine identified zone. So in order to succeed and thrive in the workforce, in competition, in business, in conquering the world, it's going to require masculine energy. It's going to require drive, which is not the same as feminine energy. Now, again, I'm being very particular here because I want you to understand this, that does not mean that women do not have drive or masculine, that they cannot summon the masculine energy. Just like I said, a man can meditate and enjoy nature. The same thing is true. Now, if a woman is constantly, right, in this world that we live in today, kind of pushes women towards the masculine side, okay, into the workforce, nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying that they really get pushed into being more masculine in general than I think historically that they have been, and sometimes they get stuck in that mode, and that's how they identify, and they think we're all the same because they're trying to be men, and they don't realize that there's a difference and there's a place for it. So in the workforce, does a woman need to exhibit some masculine qualities? Does she need to be a little bit stronger and a little bit more driven than maybe her nature would be? Yeah, absolutely, right? Because if you're not, what's going to happen, right? You're going to get fucking run over, right? I mean, that's how it works. Now, at the same time, and I think I did a video on women in tech, right? I don't know, how old that is based on what I'm saying here, but at the same time, a woman that comes into the workforce, that's coming into, let's say, the technology field, should she try to act like a man? No, she should use the feminine attributes that she has, but she's also going to have to turn on a little bit of that masculine. She's going to have to be a little bit more driven. She's going to have to be those things. And that's great. If you're a woman and you are those things, right, you're able to succeed in everything in the workforce, that's great. You're able to tap into that, but don't lose the other side. Don't lose the feminine side. Don't devalue something that is, I mean, it's like saying, again, right, maybe I would view, right, some people might disagree, but I would view like a city like New York City with concrete and buildings and hustle and bustle, I would view that as a very masculine place, right? Whereas I would view something like Hawaii, beaches and sand and nature and beauty, as a very feminine place. So what I'm saying is that we don't want to just make the entire world concrete, New York, Manhattan jungle, just all masculine place. That would not be enjoyable for anyone, right? So again, the same thing in the workforce, right? We don't. It doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be that. But that is the zone. That is the element. So are women being pushed aside to thinking they're meek and aren't driven? No, but they have to understand that the difference, right? They need to know that when they're going into a workplace, right, that they're going into the tech field, it's going to be a lot of guys. It's going to be a lot of a masculine attitude. It's going to require some amount of strength. You're going to have to kind of turn it on a little bit. Hopefully you can blend in your femininity, right? But that environment is going to be predominantly masculine. You just have to understand that, right? That's just kind of key. And if you don't understand that, that's what's going to push you out, right? We're not going to change the world. We're not going to change the environment. The workforce is always going to be masculine. See, I think there's a lot of people that what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that, that the workforce isn't masculine. They're trying to change the workplace. They're trying to change the field, change technology to not be that, and that's just not going to happen, right? It's not going to succeed. Or they're trying to say, no, women are just as driven or not. No, it just doesn't make sense, right? We have to understand and we have to see reality how it is, right? And then we can operate in that reality. So, as a guy, okay, you don't have much trouble. Like, you blend into the technology and the workforce. It's fine for you, right? It's not an issue, okay? What should you do in terms of women? You should recognize that they're playing in your game, okay? And that there are women, and you should treat them as such, not as guys. Not slap them on the back and have a beer. That's not what they want, okay? And that's not what you should be doing, right? As women, what should be going on? What should you be doing in this workforce? Well, you have to recognize that you're going to have to put on a little bit of a masculine front. You're going to have to be a little bit more directed, a little bit more pointed, okay, in order to survive in that environment. You can't be that meek, right? The environment is not going to change and adapt to you. It's not going to be becoming more welcoming. But at the same time, you're not one of the guys. You don't need to go, hanging out with the guys and acting like you're one of them. You still need to bring that feminine aspect to that environment, right? It's like planting some trees in New York City. It's like having, in the middle of New York City, there's Central Park, okay? That's beautiful. That's great, right? It doesn't detract. It actually enhances New York City, Manhattan. It would be better. It's better because of that, right? But it doesn't try to transform and take over the whole thing. It doesn't say, okay, this entire city needs to be green and clean and beautiful. No, it enhances it, right? The primary dominant force is still that kind of masculine, big, blocky, sharp, angled city. Does that make sense? Like, do you kind of get what I'm saying here? I know I'm going a little bit crazy here, but I just want to make the point. I just want to say that, like, look, you're gonna step into these roles, and there are different roles, and it is not a social. It's not a social convention. Okay, even if it was, a social convention is just as strong biologically. I mean, fuck, the way that ants behave and bees behave to some degree is a social convention, but it's also genetic, right? It's because it goes from generation to generation. We don't even understand how some of this shit works. So regardless of how it came about, the reality is that this is the environment. The reality is that when you look at biology and you look at nature and you look at society, there has always been differences between men and women historically. There always will be. The people that try and that will not embrace those differences, that try to go against those differences instead of going with the flow, they're the ones that end up they end up getting left behind. They end up missing out. They don't end up seeing the fullness of their lives, right? And they end up causing a lot of pain and turmoil for people. So I would say this, I'll summarize it by this. Yeah, being a man, the masculinity part of a man is the driven part, right? It's just like I said with languages, we've got feminine and masculine. Don't think of it as any more than that, right? But it's what I talked about before. It's about being driven. It's about breaking through barriers. Those are masculine traits. Just like the word, what is it? Pane is masculine, right? That's a masculine word, whereas fruta is feminine. I hope I've got that right. I really do. But you get what I'm saying, okay? Whereas at the same time, this idea of going with the flow, and when I say going with the flow, I mean being in the present moment, being in the flow, not thinking ahead, not calculating all this shit, but just enjoying the experience and nature and beauty. That's feminine. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, okay? But at the same time, these things mix. And we're not all just one thing. And we can have different combinations, and we can turn one on and turn one off, right? But we have to understand that these are the parts that exist of us, that environments in different places are going to be one or the other more dominantly, and people are going to be one or the other more predominantly, and that it's that mix that's what creates attraction. It's that polarization. It's the differences between is what causes the attraction together, and it creates a better whole, right? If you just, like I said, if you just had masculine and you just had feminine, either one of those would not be good. Okay, the hard and the soft. Okay, the driven and the go with, and I don't want to say go with the flow, but be in the present moment, willing to accept things as they come and enjoy the experience. That's what I'm talking about here. Now, maybe my descriptions are not quite as good, but I think you get the idea. And at the same time, you're switching between those things. So again, just to recap, put a final bow on this thing. If you're a woman watching this video, okay, and you're watching the channel, appreciate you, okay? First of all, you know, I'm speaking from a man's perspective, speaking in a way that I'm mostly communicating to guys. I'm harsh, okay? I am, right? Yeah, I think that men respond to criticism a lot better. That motivates them, whereas women more respond to praise and encouragement, right? Not to say that you can't praise and encourage everyone, but I'm just saying that's, again, masculine and feminine. And what I'm saying here is that, look, it's perfectly fine if you want to be a software developer. I hope that you do. It's perfectly fine if you want to achieve great things and advance your career and advance yourself and improve yourself. Those are all great, awesome attributes, okay? Just recognize that many of those attributes, many of the things that you're doing are really rooted for the masculine. Just like I said with languages, having a feminine and a masculine version of words. It doesn't make it bad. You just have to understand that so that you understand what you're channeling, where you're coming from. And then the reason why that's so important is because if you don't, then you will just identify with that. You don't want to identify completely with that because that's not who you are, unless you just identify as a more masculine woman. That's some people are just that way, or they want to be that way. But if you're not, okay, then you don't want to lose the softer edge side of you. You don't want to lose the present moment awareness and flow and all of that and the nature and the beauty, right? Because that is attractive and the world needs that and the workplace needs that. Just like I said, New York City needs Central Park. And that's why this is important, is because it's not one of these is going to win and the other is a loser. And it's not that we're all the same. Is that we have to recognize these things. This is the fundamental truth of reality, of the social dynamics of men and women. And when we refuse to see that truth, we cause a lot of pain on both sides, and we don't live up to our full potential. All right, that's it. I've talked about this plenty at this point. If you like this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button below. If you got comments, leave them. Let's talk about this. But that's where I stand on it. I'm probably not going to do another video detailing out at this level anymore because this was a pretty long one. All right, I'll talk to you next time. Take care.